welcome to a very special iteration of our favorites. Top 10 edition. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the new age of our favorites. Allow me to explain what we're doing. Each of us have our top 10 lists. We wrote them all down. We have them all stashed. And the plan is to watch through all of our top 10s, starting with yours truly, me, and then these two idiots after. And
Wow. Maybe I changed my mind about some of his movies.
And so we're going to get more into detail about each of our top 10s, and we're working up to number 1. So we're starting at 10 and working up to number 1. Now, my number 10 that we are going to talk about today is made by one of my favorite directors of all time, Rian Johnson. It is probably one of the most movies that made money for him. I don't think anything else would have come close. Maybe Glass Onion? Maybe? Probably not.
The Last Jedi is like the 17th highest grossing movie of all time.
Yes, but hear me. But is it? Well, I guess grossing, because I was thinking of
that's by far his highest grossing movie.
All right. Well, I want it to be Knives Out, not Last Jedi, which I do love.
Funny. It's like
It's his only movie to get nominated for Best Picture, right?
No, it didn't get nominated for Best Picture.
It didn't get nominated.
Nope.
No,
I
it
thought
should
it
have
did.
been.
Screenplay.
Here we go.
It should have been. But yes, Knives Out is what we're talking about, not The Last Jedi. I wanted this to make more money than Last Jedi. I love Last Jedi, but I love Knives Out even more.
Nothing's going to beat a Star Wars movie that's like this.
No.
Well,
unfortunately.
except for James Cameron, but we're not talking about
What
that.
if we did a whodunit Star Wars?
Ooh.
Get Rian Johnson directed again.
Oh.
Luke done it.
Oh, yes! Sign me up.
Okay, I have a side note. It's a Star Wars story that just happened.
Quick, get it in before we get into this. Let's go.
It's a little interject here. My wife and I I started rewatching The Mandalorian to prepare for season 3.
Fantastic.
She watched it for the first time.
Ooh.
We got to the point where the Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
Those 3. Is it 3 episodes or is it just 2? It's 3.
It's like the
it's
last 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we haven't watched that one, but we got to the one where you're spoilers. You're on.
You gotta make sure to
Click on a
spoiler
Knives
alert.
Out video and get Mandalorian spoiler.
We're on the planet where Grogu's getting trained, and she's just in awe of the visage of Luke. She's like, and she's trying to figure out how Ahsoka is related to them. She's like, well, Darth Vader's not his father, and I just kind of slowly turn like this, because that's the plot twist of the 20th century.
Actually.
Like you know this. I've watched these movies with you. You know this.
Oh, that's great. The only plot twist that's better is the plot twist in Knives Out.
That's true.
Look at that transition. Look at me go. But that's the thing. So I'm trying to find a good place to start with this, because I legitimately think there's Knives Out. There's a reason why it's my top 10 favorite movie of all time. The writing is on point. The acting is on point. The directing is
On point.
I mean, on point. Hey, I could go down the list of every department and how I think it does so well.
Do you want a good talking point to start?
Sure.
It's not a mystery movie. It's an anti-mystery movie, because they show us what happened,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
What?
And that's what's wonderful about it. That's the whole
But
subversion.
funny
of it.
story. As I was watching it the first time, I didn't like it because of that. I was like, "Come on, you kind of ruined it." And then I just kind of you fall into the vibe of it, and it's like, okay.
And it's so easy to fall into the vibe, because they could bring us up another talking point that I want to mention really fast, is how much fun you can tell this is. You can tell all the actors on set are just having an absolute blast with each other. And I think when you can sense the camaraderie of all the actors, the crew on set, that's where you get really special movies just like this.
We also need more evil Captain America.
Chris Evans.
By the way, spoilers for Knives Out.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Obviously, we're talking about these in-depth spoilers for all of these movies.
All subsequent movies spoken of are
Yes.
now under spoiler warnings.
Absolutely. But I'm glad you mentioned Chris Evans, because my man,
He's so good. In
So is this? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first movie outside of Captain America that he did, or no?
No.
Okay.
It's not even the first one.
I couldn't remember
the same
exactly.
year as Endgame.
I
But
couldn't
he did
remember
other
exactly.
movies during that run. I think Wonder comes to mind. Wasn't he in Wonder, or was that Owen Wilson?
That was
All
Owen
white guys
Wilson,
all
but I
the
think
same.
I know what
There
you're
is
talking
one
about.
that's
There was,
like Wonder.
Where it's like
It
him
has
and like
a
a
similar-
daughter.
Gifted. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
yeah,
it.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
And then there's obviously Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer.
Obviously, there's the Fantastic Four as well.
Oof. Well,
What do you mean, oof?
He's
He
the best
was
part of
great,
that
yeah.
movie.
Was okay. He was
Johnny,
the best
you
part of
almost
that
went
movie.
supernova. Sweet. No, not sweet.
But I will say that this movie did remind me that he is a competent actor outside of just being the muscle.
He's
And-
funny.
He's so funny, and I think because like at least in my mind, like this is like those other movies are like push him away a little, kind of away from Captain America, but it's still kind of a brawny, a little bit less than Gifted, but like him just like cussing out and just going hardcore with it, like really just like my man's done with Captain America. Like he can wear a sweater better than anybody else can.
So many sweaters.
So many good sweaters.
It's a fall movie.
It is a fall movie.
I mean, it came out at Thanksgiving, so perfect time for it to come out.
It fits that vibe perfectly. And a shout out to, I can't believe I'm gonna forget her name because she's so talented. The costume designer that won an Oscar for this, and she's probably gonna.
This didn't win an Oscar for costume design. It was nominated for one for screenplay.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm very confused. I
Did the person that did costume design win an Oscar
Which
for
one?
something
There's three
else?
of them.
for night? I could really.
Nope. That was 2019. I'm trying to think what would have won.
I mean,
costume
they
that
don't.
Year.
This is pretty simple for them to pick.
Oh, that was Little Women won costume design that year.
Huh? Are you sure this wasn't nominated?
Yep.
Well, okay. I stand corrected because I thought this, like, that's one thing that stands out to me is like how well like the costumes specifically are in this. Like all the characters wear perfectly embody them. Like it. I honest to God cannot think of a single bad thing in this movie.
That scarf. Pine gum.
This guy.
This scarf, not pine. Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
What's
what it
his
was.
name? Ransom in the movie.
Yes.
Chris Evans. There we go.
Yeah.
Did you call him Chris Pine?
I did.
All good-looking white guys look the same.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
I mean, they have the same hairstyle, basically. Very different draw line, but
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I was gonna go off, and then I'm trying to think of just anything else just to go off on because I just can't get over
the
it.
lighting is beautiful.
It's
My favorite scene is that scene after the will reading, and they're talking about how are they going to get Marta to relinquish this.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, we just have to get them to figure out that someone actually killed him, and it was Marta that killed him. And then it goes through the door frame into where the fireplace is, and LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc was sitting there.
Benoit.
Yeah, the shot goes in. He goes, "How you doing?"
oh my god, that's a whole other movie.
Benoit is just sitting there, and the way the lighting in that scene, in the movement,
That scene, you know what other scene stands out to me was specifically the lighting, is the shot, I don't remember where in the movie the scene was, but he's just outside smoking a cigar and Marta comes on him and he's not lit up. The only thing that's lit up, the only thing that's lit up is the cigar smoke, and then he leans into the frame and you see, it looks it's so satisfying. And the last specific cinematography one that I want to mention is, I don't know if I was listening to a podcast or watching an interview or whatever with Ryan Johnson, but so when they were chasing after Marta, after the will stuff, and like the camera was moving all chaotic.
When it comes off the tripod.
Yeah, they quite literally picked it up off the tripod. Like,
You can see it.
That effect is it works so perfectly.
Because it's stable and then it's...
Yeah.
I noticed.
I was wondering if that was intentional last night when I was watching it. I was like, that's different.
And that's why it's such I can't think of a single other movie that has done that's just such a creative shot.
It makes sense if they shot in such a cooped up old house, because those old houses have all kinds of tiny little rooms, as made evidence by the false window.
Yeah,
little thing.
That's what I love that.
Yeah. Going off of that thing about being an anti-mystery, like And that's not my idea. I got it from a YouTube video I watched the other night in preparation for this because it's like, hey, what is this? What do they mean by this? Because you see the title of the video. And they're basically saying how, because we see how it happened, I think they say the end of the first act is about where that whole flashback tells us this is how this happened, quote unquote. It's not the whole story, but the mystery is solved not even halfway through the movie. And then that creates tension that a lot of whodunits don't have, because a lot of whodunits, and even the sequel to this, are more of a two-act structure. It's the setup and then the payoff. It's the middle chunk, the end of the first, beginning of the second, is like going through like the kills and the solving it, whereas this has more of that 3-act structure, because now she's got to keep it covered up. And then when we get to the whodunit twist of there's more to this, that's what I think draws you, like keeps you engaged until everything starts falling into place. And that whole scene where he's going through everything that happened is so much fun. And you can see it on his face, like the character's face. He's enjoying this because he's getting it. Because he's not the greatest detective. He's good, but I like how she says, "You're not that much of a detective." Well, you're not that great of a murderer.
And then he throws it back at the very end where it's like, oh, I knew it all along. You were part of this because that little...
The blood stain.
Blood stain on the shoe. Yeah.
Which I didn't realize in previous videos that they show at basically the beginning of the movie.
Yes, they do.
And she comes in...
And sits down on the couch.
And her mom's watching the Spanish dub of Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then Angela Lansbury ends up having a cameo in the next movie.
I know.
That's last filmed appearance, I believe.
It's
rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just, this time it's like, okay, I was focusing on the structure the first time I watched it. This time I just sat back and just let the characters drive it. I wish we had more of the family in the second half, but the story doesn't call for it. That's the thing, because there's so many good actors in this. I wish because whenever they're in a room fighting,
oh my God,
it's so good.
It's so, like, Jamie Lee Curtis in this is a standout to me. I
was laughing hysterically at Don Johnson. I don't know why. Like, I thought he was fine the first time. This time, he's just such... He's so pathetic.
He is. Yeah, he's such a prick,
Immigrants, we get the job done. My gosh. He has one of the best, like, subtle moments in the movie that you notice it easily. It's right in the middle of the frame, but they don't draw too much attention to it. When he, in that flashback, calls Marta over to talk about like the immigrant experience, and he hands her the plate. Oh
my God, that's why I think it does so well because it talks about like modern talking points at the same time, but still the story is a classic story. Like I like the way that it weaves through like your classic story tropes and like a little drops, a little like sprinkles of like modern storytelling, like the kid from It is like the alt-right troll.
Jaden Martell.
Yeah. And like it's like there's so many of those, and it's just I love that about Rian Johnson.
It's interesting. I agree with you that it is a classic story because that's what I've said about it versus its sequel. But going through it again, I noticed a lot more pop culture like references, and just not even like references, just kind of lines that are like, oh, that puts this in this time, or oh, that puts this in this time. Not in a way that I think it's going to make it age poorly, but just in a way that it is a product of its time.
It's very tasteful, and that's not a bad thing. Like, and I like that we can look at like, because like I'm trying to think of, like I really think, and maybe this is just because I love this movie, and this is my I have a there's a word for this, but like what's that?
Poster?
I do have a poster for it, but like
image.
Regardless, I think this should make the top 100 AFI at one point, and I really truly hope that they would.
So you say at one point like it's still a thing. They haven't updated any. I think the last top 100 list was 2007, and they have not done anything in that series since like, I don't know, 2010.
Maybe it's just
they haven't done anything. I was waiting because they've done the two lists. And I watched both lists. I was like, okay, let's see. It's every 10 years because it was 98, 2007 because it's 10 full years or however that math works. So, okay, 2016. I waited. And I waited. Nothing.
That's interesting because a quick side note, like the reason why I think that's a very interesting list is because going into high school, going into my tech center, they asked us like, hey, pick out 10 movies out of this whole top 100 list and watch it, because it's such a interesting like list of movies to go through the top 100. And I want things.
A lot of that is more influence, though.
It definitely
and
is.
we're not far enough out from this to feel more influence. Like
That's
it has
valid.
influence,
That's
but
valid.
I don't
know,
think it
like,
has that.
Like if you talk, I have not ever looked at any of those lists, but I think if you talk about influence, like you're talking about movies that like changed the way movies are made, movies are perceived.
A lot of those. Yep.
I don't know that I would put those stakes on this yet. It's
That's
hard.
valid.
I mean, I agree with you that it's a fantastic film, and it is a testament to Rian Johnson's writing capability. I don't know in the long run that it will look back on it and say this really changed.
Well, I'll say one thing. It definitely changed Rian Johnson's career.
That's
because
true.
after The Last Jedi, that man was like poison ivy. Nobody wanted to touch
by
him.
the way, Last Jedi is a good movie.
It is a good
That's
movie.
all I have to say.
You're right, Jake. And to everybody that thinks we're wrong, you're wrong.
Wasn't there something
Just
about the Jaden Martell characters like based off the internet trolls?
Oh yeah.
For The Last Jedi, isn't that what I read?
I mean, well, I don't know if listen. I'm not
Rian
Rian Johnson. I don't know.
It's pretty on the nose.
It is. Like I said, I have not talked to him about that personally. I don't know that for
You
sure.
didn't? I thought you had lunch last week.
I
What,
wish.
What character is based off of?
Jaden Martell, the son.
The son.
Oh.
The
troll.
kid from It.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And we've all seen the sequel.
Yes.
I like the sequel better, but I've not seen it a second time.
That's
I'm wondering how it will, because I really like this first one. I have a lot more fun with that second one.
I think
That one is more of the 2-act structure.
because it goes back
And
to
and I was telling Jake this, and that's another thing that the video said to me too. It's basically Rian Johnson telling us how much he hates Elon Musk.
yeah. Oh, but he came
Miles
out.
Braun is an idiot.
But he came out and said it's not about Musk, and I don't think it really. Like, I think it's just about all the tech billionaires. Like,
Yes,
like
but
you
that's
can
the
rap
easiest
Musk,
about
you can
just
rap
rich
Bezos.
people in general.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's what both these movies do so well. It's saying, hey,
does.
look at these
Look at
rich a-holes.
idiots.
Like they're like, well, at least in this first one, they try to be the progressive liberal rich people, and they end up
They are
playing right into
so clearly
it's-
not.
Well, they are, quote unquote,
Quote,
but
yeah.
it's like, are they really? Mm-hmm. They try to convince themselves that they're being progressive, and they're not.
Yeah.
And then the second movie is more about just sometimes these people that are this rich and this in power often aren't the smartest people. It's luck and using other people's ideas.
Yeah.
I would say for me, I like the first one better. I have a lot of fun with the second one, and I laughed a lot more. I like the cast better in the first one.
The cast is better in the
and
first
I
one.
click more with the autumn cold vibe.
I think I'm with you on that. I am naturally my favorite season of the year is fall, and so like when you have a perfect movie that just embodies everything about fall, like they're eating. What does she have when her and Chris Evans?
Beans and toast.
Just beans and toast. Like it was just something simple, but
Sausage.
beans and
Yes.
sausage. Yeah, it's just a simple fall meal. It just makes me happy.
Yeah, there was toast on the plate, though. I was just saying. I think he says, like, and I know you can't lie, and you just had a full
That's
plate
such
of
a
beans
clever
and sausage.
mechanic too.
It is. That's what I love using. Like that's.
She's lying. Wait, that one Trooper Wagner was killing me. Isn't he the guy roaming around in the second movie? The same actor's playing the stoner guy that's just hanging out. I think it is.
Is it real? I
He
didn't
looks
know that.
very different if it is him.
That's amazing. I actually.
While you look that up, I got another funny story about it to say. So my
I thought it was. It's not.
it's not
I thought I heard that.
my
Oh no, he's not.
stepmother-in-law, my wife's father's wife. My wife's father's wife. Wow. My wife's father's wife.
There you go.
She loves movies too, so we talk about movies a lot when I go over there.
Mm-hmm.
We were over there Sunday or Saturday or someday, and we were talking about Knives Out and Glass Onion. She goes, "What accent does Daniel Craig have?" And I say, "I'm pretty sure he's from like Kentucky or something." It's like, no, and I'm like,
No, it's
are you sure?
Louisiana.
Is it?
I was
Oh,
gonna
look
say,
at it. He's a French name, so it's probably Cajun.
That would make sense.
which makes sense because I feel like you guys are the strongest.
But I said, he's probably from Kentucky. And he's like, no. And I'm like, are you sure? I thought they said that in the first movie. You know what? It's because 4 times in the first movie, they call him it's like Kentuckian drawl.
Cut it with the Kentucky Fried Foghorn Leghorn drawl.
Nope. And somehow that stuck in my brain as that is where he is from.
There's something, and I know that actually is a thing. I think British actors, the easiest dialect for them to do is Southern.
Well, look at Andrew Garfield in Hacksaw Ridge. I want to shoot it good. And the crossover has Gwen from Amazing Spider-Man, Emma Stone coming. He goes, just making a bunch of weird noises.
You love your Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
He doesn't, but he does. I'm good with you, Andrew Garfield. I don't think you deserve the hate you get.
He does not. And I truly love that Southern drawl that he gives in this.
It's so wonderful. His eyes are so blue too.
I know.
They must.
He is a beautiful man. Daniel Craig is a beautiful man.
So I don't know if they if his eyes are just that blue or they went through and brightened his eyes.
I feel like I was watching one of the Bond movies. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's
They're so blue. Why are you blue?
Why is Christian Bale in pale blue eye? It should be Daniel Craig.
So yes, I love Daniel Craig's. Like I said, he's a gorgeous human being.
I love Daniel Craig. Period.
That's
fine.
Period. Mic drop. That's
his best movie is obviously Cowboys vs. Aliens.
Obviously, who even knows James Bond? But okay,
What's that?
I saw that in theaters.
me too.
I've never been more angry at a campfire.
Okay. I want to say my point, but really quick, a side note about Cowboys vs. Aliens. It's made by the Freddie W. guy. Remember the old school Freddie W? Like the rocket
Wu.
jump?
Freddie Wu, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah. But his YouTube was that, and so I just loved him, so I wanted to support him, but it's not a good movie.
I thought why did I think Jon Favreau made that?
He did. He directed it, but Freddie W. worked on the VFX on it. He helped out with stunts.
Okay.
It was really cool. There's a featurette on it. Go watch it. But I had a point that I wanted to make, and I think that Ryan. Have you guys seen the Ryan? Oh crap!
I have seen Ryan Reynolds in a movie or
I'm
two.
trying to remember what interview it was that he did. That he told how he makes these Knives Out. It's 1 and 2, and I just think it's so smart. The story isn't Daniel Craig. He's just there, and the actual story is all the issues with the other characters.
That's usually how it works. With the Agatha Christie stuff too, I feel like.
Yeah, that's what he's really basing it off of that. And I feel like I can see, I'm not going to call out any names, but I can see lazier filmmakers or lazier studios doing that, making the whole story Benoit Blanc trying to figure stuff out. And I'm just so happy that he kind of just falls into it. And that's what sucks me into this world so much more, and that's what I love the most about it.
In both cases, literally, he was hired by someone that he wasn't sure of. The second movie's different, where it's he received the thing, and then they decide, wasn't it, or some order, wasn't it? She sent it, and then she brought it with her. So it fell in the second one. It fell into his lap, whereas the first one he did not know.
Mm-hmm. And I also, I'm glad you said that because that's such an interesting plot point.
What was the thing? It's wait, you took this job because of an envelope full of cash.
I mean, are you telling me you wouldn't take a job if you got an envelope full of hundreds of dollars? Absolutely, I would.
That's one thing that the second movie is missing. It's a Lakeith character.
Yeah, that's a good
he's
point.
Great in that first movie. The second movie, he's a good straight man to Blanc in the first movie. And in the second one, there's not really anyone for him to bounce off of for the first half, because once it's revealed what's going on with Janelle Monáe, it's okay, here we go.
That part. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I do really wish that they would have had a Lakeith character. Don't have him back, obviously, but have that character in there. because that would have made it.
There's also an argument to be made that they didn't necessarily need that type of character because they set him up. I mean, you get a pretty good idea who he is within Knives Out in general. Mm-hmm. And so they might have thought they didn't need that for the second one.
Which, I mean, makes sense, but it's always fun to see him hamming it up. And then I would love to watch the bloopers to this and see how many times they probably broke when he was, like, just giving his spiels and his draws. And because, like, playing the straight man to that would be so hard to do, at least for me. Like, I can't even imagine having to keep my composure for some of those lines.
Oh, she throws up on Chris Evans' face. Oh,
that is so disgusting.
It's so gross, but so funny. And I think there's a part where he's talking and, like, puke is dripping off his face. I'm like near his mouth.
Yeah.
I love those shots of he grabs the knife and her, it's the vertigo
slow
effect.
motion.
Yeah, the vertigo effect shot thing. And then, like, him running and that whole...
That end sequence is... I mean, this whole movie is perfect, but, like, it's so well done. It's so... Like, it takes it so seriously, but it doesn't at the same time. Like, it knows what it is, and it just has fun with that. And nothing and that fake knife, that is, like, the perfect... Because it comes back to, like, what,
He's the whole, like...
He doesn't know a real knife from a fake knife.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't remember, like, that, like the specific, like, what was said, but that was so... Oh... It just makes me happy.
This movie ended with a Stone song, and then Glass Onion, of course, ends with a Beatles song. So what's the third movie going to end with?
That's a very good question.
A Killer's song.
Killer's song.
Okay. I don't know. I still didn't know. Just
Smile Like You Mean It. That's what the movie. It's going to be called. Smile on Knives Out Mysteries. It's going to be Smile Like You Mean It.
I'd be here for that. Honestly, I really would.
I do have one more cool little Easter egg that I didn't figure out, but I read about on the internet.
Yeah.
So on the Blu-ray cover, on the steel book.
Yes. I have it.
There's a clear sort of ish. Well, no, it's not clear. It's clear, but then it has the knives wheel on it. Mm-hmm. It's not in the center of the case. If you take the case out and flip it over and put it on there, it points to the killer.
Yep. It's
that is. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it circles Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm. That is some into packaging.
That
is like pre-design thought. That is like pre-production design.
Who thinks of who like that's incredible thought and just effort and just It's the small details that just make me so happy. I love it.
Or the punctuation at the end when you see the mug that you saw at the beginning of the movie. My house, my rules, my coffee.
Thank you. There we go. I was trying to remember it. Yeah, that end shot of her standing above them, with that cup. It just. This is why this is my 10th favorite. It is so I love.
I still always laugh at. When we were working together and that Standy was up and we're all guessing before we saw the movie, like, who did it? And I'm like, it could be it. I bet you he killed himself. In the movie, it shows him slit his throat, and I go, I was right. I mean, there's more to it, but yeah, I was basically right.
And Marta never killed him. She gave him the right stuff. God, that's the other thing is like I like that she just always knew because she knows the weight of each thing, and it's like. It comes down to just like the weight of her action. Like there's so many like just metaphors hidden like with the weight of that and the weight of her actions and just like.
You know the thing I just thought about? Okay, so when they're in the reveal sequence and Marta gets the call from the hospital, she says to the hospital, "Yes, that's great news."
Yep. When they said she died.
Yeah.
I'd see the views of the hospital worker kind of going like on the other end, like what?
I had forgotten.
That's right. Yeah.
To be fair, I'd forgotten that she died. Between viewings.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because it's been so long since I had seen this for the first time. Like when I rewatched it for this, like I don't know, about a third of the way through, I'm trying to remember, like, so what were all the twists? Because like I know there's twists and I know them, but I'm trying to remember it at the time, and it's just. I think if you rewatch it like 8 months or like a year between rewatches, so you kind of forget, so you can kind of read through the twists again.
You can see her do the switch of the vials in the first scene when she does it too. she does kind of go like, it's just really quick, and you have to know what you're looking for.
I know. That's And I think it's just the old thing with whodunits and just like those small details about like just like foreshadowing like who did what. Like I don't know. I love this movie. I really do. But is there anything else you guys want to mention about Knives Out, the first one?
No.
No? All right. Well, thank you guys for listening to today's episode. If you want to follow us on all the rad, cool social medias, where can they follow us, Jared?
Excuse me. They can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the funny TikTok. They can listen to us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course, watch us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, ring our bell, rate us on all those, and check out our website.
Absolutely. So thank you for listening to today's awesome episode of the new generation of our favorites.
Oh, by the way, if you want to watch along with us, the movie we are watching for next week is going to be...
Drumroll, please.
The Shining.
My 9th favorite movie of all time.
Don't watch the miniseries, please.
No, watch.
I didn't realize there was a miniseries.
Yep.
Is it new?
It's more.
No.
Okay.
Isn't that supposed to be a more like accurate depiction of the book?
King had his hand in it because he hates the movie.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's next.
But we'll get into it next week. So stay tuned. Until next time, thank you for listening to us at Slate Media. We will see you guys later.